From Chicago, here is the Black Knight of Talk Radio, James Arthur Yancek.
Whoever is filthy, let him be filthy still. Listen to the words long written down when the man comes around.
All right, we are back live, and I had an open segment here, and I just remembered something this week that I wanted to talk about. And I updated the web site just before the show. And I asked the question, what does Planet X, pole shifts, kill-shot solar flares, comet or asteroid hits, Godzilla, or any of the other Daikaiju monsters, some of the Marvel superheroes anyway, some of them, Return of Jesus, Less Visible's Mr. Apocalypse, Armageddon, Alien either invasion or intervention, the new Golden Age and or the Mayan Calendar, etc. What do they have all in common? And, one might say with tongue in cheek or with acid in tongue, that what has them in common is that they're all delusional fantasies that are used to keep somebody from going insane or placid, non-action or what have you. And I'm not, of course, ruling that out, being a big fan of keeping all options open, whether they're pleasant or not, because truth is what it is, not what I want it to be. Sometimes they both coincide. But anyway, here I'll tell you how it started. I was watching the coming attractions to the new Godzilla movie. They have a teaser trailer out on it. And when they showed Godzilla stand up and roar, I mean, I was like, I've liked Godzilla since I was, a little kid. And so I was so moved by that. I actually would cheered out, and I had actually started tears. I was so like, yes. And I'm like, wait a minute. Where did that come from? Why is that? And if you think about Daikaiju, they are monsters or some kind of sacred or powerful beings that appear to do a job, and they're usually there to mop up something bad, and they're not really clean about it. They have superpowers. They're also super, I guess when I call them clumsy, or I don't want to say clumsy, but they have these powers, but they're not intelligent. They are just strong and have a purpose. And using Godzilla and the Daikaiju version, which I'm assuming is going to be in this new movie, which has been touched on in other ones, is Godzilla, the people where nuclear proliferation and or polluting the earth, and Godzilla appears and he destroys the cities and whatnots that were doing it and then disappears. So he leaves a wake of destruction behind him, but the point was to stop this particular action. And you'll talk to people who are into Planet X coming, and if you talk to them, you will hear them say it'll break the back of the oppressive government, the people who are rich and sucking up the wealth and causing slavery amongst them. Their backs will be broken. The hidden fortresses that they have planned to go hide will be broken, and so forth. Now, the people who are on the planet will also be broken. There'll be a lot of trouble for the rest of us. But you'll get this feeling, it's worth it to finally just get rid of the crap. And people say the same, look at pole shots, the kill shot, solar flare. We would rather see Earth destroyed and all of us die rather than it go. And of course, people would say, well, that's crazy. That's mental illness. Well, what about the person who will save a bunch of people knowingly having himself killed in the process? Now, is that insane for someone to run in a burning building, get a kid out, or run, push a kid out of the way and get hit by a car and die? Is that insanity? We look at that as a hero. And when you see these things, solar flares, comet or asteroid hitting the Earth, some of these superheroes have all these troubles. Actually, the superheroes are kind of like a American version, let's say, of Daikaiju. You have the return of Jesus. Some say in vengeance. and in bringing destruction to the earth while saving the elect, Mr. Apocalypse, as Les Visible points out, is going to come in and selectively give what people need to do, whether it be good or bad, that they have created. Battle of Armageddon, the end of the earth and all that alien invasion, destroying the earth, or intervention, similar to like a, I guess, like a Return of Jesus, are both. Excuse me. The New Age of golden enlightenment, where everybody all of a sudden is enlightened and open up a new dimension. Or the Mayan Calendar, which also talks about both either destruction or all those things are all in common, is that people have had it with the evil on the planet. And within their personal paradigms have focused on a methodology. And if you think of all these things are unstoppable. I mean, the aliens are superior. You know, we have the sun blowing a solar flare, asteroid, a comet, a huge comet hitting the earth, pole shifts. All these things are these giant, powerful, unhuman stoppable. I mean, weather, we had the day after tomorrow, the terrible weather things. They're beyond our control, and they will stop what's going on. And the people are so fed up with the seemingly unlimited power of those in charge, or at least they have all the cards. And what am I going to do? That's why some guy gets mad and he goes to McDonald's and kills 5 people. That is an insanity in that aspect. There is insanity, but the idea is that this person sees an injustice. Now, that could be a delusional injustice, but nonetheless, they see an injustice and they go on the attack. Now, it's wrong. It's just the opposite that you really should do, but I can understand it and still condemn it. People are willing to destroy this planet with some outer giant thing rather than have it continue on in the same way. Now, I think there's a good in there. I think there's something in there that we can tap into. All these people, all these various views, we all can tap into it and hold hands, so to speak, with this same common aspect, which is we have to realize that because of psychopathy, because of choosing evil and these items, that as an individual, we are powerless to stop it. And if we could unite, and I don't mean unite and hold protests or whatnot, the idea of the uniting and looking toward divine intervention, to realize, when you talk to somebody who is in a Baptist theology, we'll say, or more than just Baptist, but that's the general, is that you have to realize you can't save yourself. You cry out to God for salvation, and that due to the work of what Jesus did, you can be changed as an individual. You can work along, follow the rules, follow the guidelines, and you can go to heaven after you die, realizing that you yourself can't do it. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that statement as presented in its simplicity, but the point is well taken, is that I think the lesson that we're learning here on this planet is that when you combine evil, you put evil in with good, the evil will consume the good, because by nature the good won't consume evil. I mean, it became clear to me that when you look at God, God is extremely humble and recessive. God will want you to choose the right way because you want to choose the right way. You understand what the right way is, and you want to choose it, and God will help that. God will not push you into the right way, because if God makes you do something that you don't want to do, that's similar to what evil would do. The evil wants to manipulate you into what they want you to do. So if God were to manipulate you into what he wants you to do, that would make him, with a noble cause, doing evil. So this is why you have this extremely recessive, hands-off approach by God. What has happened over the last 2,000 years? Has nothing's come out of the sky, no big things happen. I mean, God is not in the job of doing it. But I think what we need to do here is, using all these ideas, is to simply keep crying out for God's intervention. And mean it. I mean, crying out, meaning very meaningful of it. And for each of us, in our own life, we can do what we can do at that any moment of space and time that could be used to help bring this about. We all have pieces to the puzzle, but our ego and our inflated view of our intelligence thinks that we know we could do. I remember talking to a guy who didn't believe God existed, at least in the form of a personality, because he as little as he could do a better job than God with all the stuff going on the planet. I mean, I could do a better job, and I'm just a guy. So that's kind of funny, because it presumes to have enough knowledge to be able to. And I thought there was a service by that funny movie. It's kind of silly, but Bruce Almighty. There is a little message, I think, worth in there, is that we cannot comprehend the complexity of everything. I mean, everybody thinks that the universe just exists. God is actually running a universe. For example, everything is an analog. This is what's beautiful about philosophy, is if you look at a human, you're breathing right now, your heart is beating, your various organs are doing various jobs, and you have no say in the matter. You could probably affect your heart rate by getting nervous or upset or by meditating, but you can't just go, I'm going to start my heart now. You can stop. Hold on, let me stop this. You can stop your breathing, but you'll start again or pass out. What you have is your body is constantly doing its job. It's constantly monitoring all these things and acting. It's completely busy doing that. And our consciousness is out here doing things. God has to run the universe. And the universe is infinite, and so is God. Infinite universes, infinite amount of time, infinite beings, infinite God, and God's running it all. It's hard. I'm not saying he's like, I can't listen, I got to run the universe. This is all going on in the background. So for a being who is running the universe, who are setting the physics laws, and it's the force of them running them and all this stuff, you put this all up there. Crying out to God, calling out to God to intervene is not a waste of time. It may seem like, 2,000 years, people looking for Jesus to return, he hasn't. Well, crawling out to God to intervene in whatever method that God thinks is best, I think is necessary, because it's not that we won't do our part. This is where we have to do both. We have to both let go of the reins and pick up with the reins all at the same time, because we have a part to play in it. We have to find out what that part is and go along in that part. It's a little part. It might be important in many different ways, but it's little compared to like running the universe. But God wants us all to find their parts, and all from a passive manner. God is very humble. Jesus, of course, refers to this many times. My load is light. Pick up my yoke, and my load is light. If you're yoked with the divine, you're doing your part. What's that saying I like? Trust in Allah, but tie your camel. Do your part, tying up the camel, small part. God's part, camel's got to, the blood's got to flow through right? The camel has to exist. The world has to have air for the camel to breathe. There's got to be a ground gravity to hold the camel down. I mean, all this stuff is, and all we're doing is tying up the camel. And if you think about it in that way, I think a couple of things happen. One, you realize how unimportant we are in the big theme. So then the pressure on us to help change the world is less. Because people think they can go out and change the world. They blow up buildings, or they protest, or they do these things. And I'm not saying protesting or whatever is bad. It's, you think that if I do these things, the world will change. That's delusional. But if I do my little part in a collective effort by the world and God, that will change things. I personally think, and I've mentioned a couple of weeks ago, I've mentioned my vision, which was pretty cool. And it was startling, but it wasn't startling conceptually to me, is that what will have to happen on this planet is we'll have to have a critical mass of people calling out for divine intervention, because God is so opposed to pushing. The only thing he's more opposed to in pushing is the oppression of people. And so God has been helping those who are oppressed both here and in the afterlife, and working for that moment when the scales are tipped a certain way and it's time. Now, I don't think we can hasten that time, but I think what is needed from that time is a critical mass of people who are calling out to God. I say crying out of habit. I don't mean but I've literally cried out to God to intervene. And I think that'll work in individual situations and also in the collective. At some point, there will be this resonance that'll happen on this planet while the bad guys are in control, while things are blowing up and all that. That could be happening on the surface, but there'll be a resonance of people who will simply, with a very humble and honest and open heart, perhaps in tears, perhaps in despair, crying out to God for help. And God will then intervene because he's not pushing his way in, he's being invited in. Now, people say, well, it's really stupid legal stuff. People, okay, you guys can suffer and burn until enough of you really want to call me. Don't forget it. I'm not, some great poet here with words. But I can see the philosophy of it. The ultimate love is to allow you to be, to provide you with means to be and let you be. And the ultimate hate is to take you and make you do for me. And so what do you look around you? That's what you see. You see the universe working. You see things happening. And you see people using their actions to cause their worldview or their paradigm to happen. And the people who are the most aggressive, nasty, mean, selfish, no conscience, ruthless people are going to survive the best because in this particular physical world. But of course, it's all being run by God. So what I see when I look at when I saw myself cheering at Godzilla, I was thinking of God. The power of nature, of God. When I see a tornado, I'm overwhelmed by the power of it. It blows through. Of course, this is destructive, and I don't want to focus on the destructive part of it, because no matter how destructive the forces are, the forces of healing are manyfold better. Thus, referring back to my vision, and you can see on YouTube, I have it isolated if people would like to hear it. You have this aspect where you have God intervening by request and healing everybody. In fact, even the evil people, many of them will be healed because they'll be given. And this is if you are a predator and you're still listening to this show at the moment, and haven't turned it off and laughed at its silliness, I got a message for you. There's a time coming where the grace of God is going to walk up to you and say, I can heal the things in your life that have led you to here. I can turn it around, and I can put you on the path of healing and love. Take it. I don't take it. No matter what, take it. There's going to be a moment coming, and maybe it's called, I think the word is perusal, is what the Catholic theology says, when Jesus comes with the saints. There's going to be, however it comes, there's going to be a moment when you're going to give that ultimate grace, that it's coming just by grace. You don't deserve it other than the fact that you are a child of God underneath all that muck. Take it. Don't think that God is not merciful enough, that God is going to throw you into hell. I mean, the fundamentalists have done a great job of scaring the hell out of everybody, or I should say the hell into everybody. when the opportunity comes for you to change, grow, and I take it, God is a loving, incredible being, and there's going to be a time when there's going to be a general amnesty. And some people are so far negative and fear, and in their mind of a predator mindset, can't imagine the God who would be the largest, biggest predator, because they have a predator mindset, being merciful. It's just like that one little story where the frog was going to carry the scorpion on his back across the river. About halfway through the river, the scorpion stung the frog, and he's like, why? We're both going to die. He goes, well, it's by nature. So the evil people think that's the nature. So if God shows up, they're going to be like, oh, he's got to be the ultimate predator. Look, they call King of Kings, the host, King of the hosts of armies. I mean, people have laid this on God because they look at the ultimate power as being destruction. But when that time comes, when that whistle blows, that horn blows, there's that moment where, and I want to mention the movie 10 Commandments with Charlton Heston, when he comes down and says, who's ever on the Lord's side, come on this side. Again, we're talking about a movie, but the principle is there. At that moment, the evil guys could have went over there, but they didn't. They were afraid. And I think this is a message to take, is not only is this coming, because there's going to be a time when enough people, I don't know what that means, enough. I don't know if that means a percentage. That means every single possible being that can ask, has asked. I don't know what the timing is on it. But it's coming where this incident is going to happen. And if you are of the predator nature, no matter how bad it is, turning to God for healing is the answer. And there'll be those who don't, because it's so foreign and they're so scared by the power they perceive that they'll run away and say, rocks fall on us, as it's written, to hide us. And so this is why I think what's coming is most people are going to get so fed up with everything that they would just rather die. And of course, people who commit suicide, not advised. I'm not judging, but it's not the way. And of course, there are some people who are in great, terrible pain, suffering, whatever. And again, there's a grace and an understanding that it's not the solution in general. Excuse me, the coughing, but for me to go hit the cough button every time. And so if you look at all those things I mentioned, Planet X, etc., there's people who believe in Planet X, even though there's no evidence of Planet X, but the principle that it contains is true. So I can't look at a Planet X person and go like, oh, you're delusional, you're wrong. They're putting together the manifestation of their Daikaiju in Planet X form to come. And to me, personally, it's not important as to what it comes in. My personal vision that I had is in the healing, power in the healing, which will, of course, a few people will reject. And this would be the greatest example of love, is to have someone who apparently doesn't deserve forgiveness, getting forgiveness. See, another thing wrong with Baptist theology, and I'm not talking about Baptists or any individual, but the theology, is that they say it's saved by grace, lest you boast. And yet, when you give the articles of faith and you are saved, you have to have the articles of faith to be saved. It's like, wait a minute, I got to say these things to be saved? Well, then I'm doing something. All one has to realize to be, quote, saved is to realize that you're saved. To realize that when Jesus came, his acts on earth and how he went through his life and death is a redemptive act. And that's it. Whether you know it or not, whether you believe it or not. But the thing you would do, quote unquote, is accept the grace. And it doesn't mean you have to have a certain theological background. It's to realize that God is the one that's keeping the air existing for me to breathe. And in a metaphysical manner, of course, he's basically the stuff my soul is made of. So how could I think, well, I could do this without God? It's an insane idea. And to think that God is going to create somebody knowing that they would choose to not be saved, to not go this way, yet create him anyway, would show God as flawed, because he created a flawed being. And when you talk about, well, he created free will, I don't have free will to fly around this room. There's certain laws and restrictions. But in the same breath, I have free will. I don't have free will to kill somebody. I may have the free will to try and kill somebody, because there are other wills happening on there. But the aspect is that if we realize that conditions on this planet or conditions in our life need God's intervention to be the best they can be, and not just get by, or just keep breathing, or just stay alive, and we seek that and give permission to God from that, you will have the aspects coming. Now, people say, well, does that mean if you don't do anything, you just sit on your laurels, God will come here and fix everything? What are we supposed to do? No, I said already. We're not supposed to. It's what we do is to follow the principles of Jesus in any given moment. That doesn't mean that you take guns and blow away the bad guys. Right? That does not, because I don't know where Jesus said that ever, unless you think that it's been taken out. And then you would be amongst the zealots who supported Jesus in overthrowing Rome. The idea is that we're not worried about, it's not our job to save the planet. It's our job to do our little piece in learning and give our little piece in God's plan of saving the planet. And at some point, I think the intervention will come. And I'm just putting out there, and maybe I'm in a long-worded, cyclical, nonlinear fashion, that our point is to understand that we need God's intervention in this planet and offer ourselves for whatever part we can play in it. Ultimately, God will appear, or what have you. Now, Less Visible mentioned that he thinks that God is going to appear in the hearts of men, people, and not necessarily in a physical form, though he doesn't rule it out. Like, in other words, like, for example, my vision, Jesus and the saints opening the sky, opening up. He doesn't think that's necessary, though, of course, he's open to it. He would never say he wouldn't. Here, the logic behind this is that I look at Jesus' work as coming into space and time to talk to human beings and work with human beings. And the Spirit of God, you want to call the Holy Spirit the God in the Spirit form, is working from the inside out, from the soul side in to the human being. So you have Jesus as an example, and other prophets, perhaps to a lesser degree or similar degree. You have Jesus, the man, accepting the incoming relationship with God, his soul, which in all probability is a God, is the firstborn, so it'd be the first soul, let's say. Jesus accepting that and allowing God to manifest in his life, following the lead. When given the option to use his supernatural powers to save the earth by bowing down to Satan, he didn't. He could have took up arms and threw out Rome. He didn't, because God said, look, this is what I want you to do. Teach, heal, and, and they're going to kill you. Let it go. Don't do it in your own physical power. Don't let your ego take over. Do it my way. It's a little longer, but it's better. So by Jesus, the man following this incoming data, when he ends up going through, now he's rewarded. Jesus is now is rewarded as being the person coming back to literally set the earth free, like he wanted to, like he was being tempted to. Now he can do it the proper way, which is to let God. There's another verse in the Bible that talks about Michael, who was going to take down Satan. He said, "Well, the Lord rebuke you." He didn't say, "I'm going to kick your butt." The Lord rebuke you. Again, if we do something in our own power, that's ego. It's short-sighted. It's negative. It's just like what Satan is doing. Devil, whatever, is this power to get you to do what you want. So when I go to fight someone to get him to stop being bad, you see the correlation there? And I'm not saying one should intervene when somebody is being injured. That's not my point. The point is to plan to go out and kill them all or something like that, which is what you've noticed we're doing around the world for the good of the empire. So the aspects of what I'm talking about here is that if we have this particular attitude of servitude, finding out what our service is, it's simple. Jesus mentioned to somebody, if you give a cool drink of water to these little ones. You won't lose your reward. Sometimes we just have to be there and be nice. Guys having a bad day, you're nice. You've done your job that day. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be you're supposed to be God with skin on, allowing God to use you in your physical being to enter space and time voluntarily to allow God to work through you. God will use your talents, whatever you'd like to do, as much as you like to do, as least as you like to do, not pushy, but if we can allow him in. Now, that being said, things can be pretty tough in your life at times. I know I've gone through a crucible here in the last, well, it seems like years, but I guess the last maybe 8 weeks or so. And I know something's going on. I know God is using this in some way to teach me something and doing something. If nothing else, maybe just to get closer. And so while I'm asking him to help me get rid of this stuff, I'm also going along with it. You know, it's not just like staying at home and not going into the cold, for example, which I never realized why I was so bothered by the cold before. There must be some past event bleeding through. But knowing that I'll get through the cold. And, of course, hearing Les talk about his times in prison, obviously people have had to do a lot worse than what I'm doing. I'm hoping that's not just a prelude to more stuff, but this is the point I'm coming at. So this is why when people talk about Planet X, I understand it. I get it. It's not necessarily literal. And I understand Les when he talks about, like, for things like when I mentioned my vision. It might not be literal in that aspect. It might be how I envision it through my paradigm, or it could be what's to come. So this is why I don't have a problem. On one hand, my mind and my ego would look at the Planet X stuff, for example, and prove all the stuff wrong with it. But now I look at it and go, it doesn't matter if it's not physically going to actually happen in its legalistic step 1, step 2 way. The principle is there, and that principle will happen. There will come, whether it be a messenger, Daikaiju, whether it's God entering space and time, or the return of the saints coming in, something will happen that's going to break the hold of evil and hate on the people of light, because it's a finite thing going on here. Now, we may be blessed to be here when it happens. We may be here because all the humans throughout time who have accepted love and light have been reborn here for this moment, as a present. If you can get through this and hold out to the end. And remember, words like Jesus saying this: if you can hold on to the end, you'll be saved. Not theologically saved from damnation, but you as a human being will be spared from the physical death and destruction that is happening at the time. It's very clever how it's worded. And if you look at it from the perspective of actually being spared on the planet rather than theologically, a lot of this stuff makes sense. So when you hear people talking about these various things, the only bad ones I can think of is people, for example, if they're going to be a prepper and they're like, yeah, well, I'm going to show them, I'm going to survive. They can come crawling to my door, and I'm not letting them in. All right, those people are predators as well. They're predators in an idea of, I'm going to watch them die because they weren't like me. So that's the ego talking. Ego wants you to be like me. And if you're not like me, I'm going to manipulate you to be like you, or I'm going to see you punished for not being like me. Those are all ego things, and those are all going to be problematic when it comes to this cleansing. So I think actually I haven't looked in the email. Somebody may have a question or something, or a chat room. I've been looking at the other monitor. But I think it's kind of I don't know, I think it's kind of an important way to look at it. Okay, I'm not looking here. All right. I think it's an important way to look at it. another way to look at it, where you can take and understand, instead of looking at the literal, instead of looking at the package, look at the principle. And I think that's how we learned for many years. That's why it's not important about the stories of old, if they were literally true or not. That's important. Not important. It never was intended to be the point. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But what's important is what is taught in the principles. That's what it's all about. So looking at the weather we've had here, as I understand it in Chicago, 79 was as bad or worse than it is now, both in cold temperatures. I don't remember it being that bad, but then again, maybe I wasn't intimately out in it as I am now. But is this the beginning of an ice age? Is this the beginning of all these other things? Again, we're looking at an ice age would break the back of the current system. So again, it's a Daikaiju of nature, so to speak, to have, nature come in with, say, cold or hurricanes. It's still the same idea. So what I would like to see people do, and just try this. Every week, or every morning when you get up, I would suggest people actually saying this and meaning it, where you get up and you say, however you refer to the deity, I've always said Lord, and now I've changed it to Father, because I think what Jesus also taught was a different way to look at God, and not being this over master, Lord of hosts, God of God, but your daddy. I mean, really. Let today be the day. And in that statement, let today be the day that I can do my part in your return, in your restoration of Earth. And let today be the day that the power flows and restores Earth. So it's like you have my little part, and let today be the big part where it all happens. And whether we all simultaneously are healed from the inside, or whether it comes from the outside, I think there's an outside and inside component, because it'd be the final wedding of the inside and the outside is when something happens outside, something happens inside. There you have that marriage. So this is why I think something like that would happen. It would rather than just simply having people just wake up one day and understand things. I like that. I'm not going to oppose to that. You see, I want whatever to come, and I want it to come now. I want tomorrow. I want now, and any moment from now on to be the time when evil is either converted or removed, and we can begin living on this planet in a love environment. Now, if it takes the destruction of the planet to do that, I'm okay with that, because we go back to these Planet X and Godzilla and all that stuff. But based on my vision, it looks like there'd be an intervention, and I don't know what the trigger point is. I got a guess. I got a feeling that it has to do with people, whether it be come destroy the earth to end this, or come save the earth, the idea of God intervening. So I think that's what I think. If people want to do a service to help get this ball rolling, rather than sit back and watch all the wars brewing in the Mideast and say, yes, look, we got Armageddon is beginning, good, Jesus is around the corner. What's an insane statement? A war is coming? That's good? So now you're excited? Huh? I guess that's as crazy as giving Obama the prize for Nobel Peace Prize, or the guy who invented the neutron bomb, Nobel Peace Prize, while Obama's going around killing around the world. I think what we should do is, God, let today be the day. Father, let today be the day that I can do my part, and I can enjoy your part. And let it come. Let it come now. Right this minute. Oh, I mean, I don't want to die to see it. But if that's what it is, if that's my day, fine. But I would love to see the intervention of love energy just wash through and heal this planet, and I want it now. I want it now. And just keep that immediacy. Let today be the day. So I would like people listening to give this a try, regardless of your religious affiliation. I mean, I imagine if you believe there's absolutely no God and this is all just a physical thing, it doesn't matter. All right, but anybody who has any belief in God, higher power, whatever you want to call it, they say, let today be the day that the intervention just continues and snowballs into this big crescendo. So anyway, let me click my. Let me click the ending there. So that is what I was saying. I think that's where this whole aspect of the Planet X pole shift kill shot. You know, they talk about also in the Vedic area. You have the people talk about Kundalini awakening in people's life. You're talking about the coming of the Golden Age. All these things show this enough is enough. And God stepping in, and God hasn't done it before in the overt sense we're talking about, and we want to know why. And I just throwing it out there that perhaps he needs to be invited. And I keep saying he, but God is neither male or female. Needs to be invited because the ultimate thing is the ultimate love is to not push yourself. It's to be loved and love the loving and love in that type of helpful sense. And so, let's try it. Let's give it a shot. And I will be doing so. I've already been doing it now. Let today be the day. And let me be the day for me to do my part, whatever it may be, as small as it is or what have you. And let today be the day that the divine floods through the world with healing, not a tidal wave. All right, Feet to the Fire. We'll be back next week live. We will see you then.
Retell your timeless truths. Oh, it's your word. Feet to Fire is a production of IPS Media Works on the OnSync Radio network of stations.